good and evil. Sometimes the difference between the two is a sharp line. Sometimes it's a blur. Sometimes we have to do things outside of the law.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing a blind man who has the ability to save lives and beat criminals to a pulp. Now, if you have any idea of who I'm talking about, I am talking about the one and the only Daredevil. Now, we are not going to be talking about the movie today. We are going to be talking about the Netflix series starring Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock, also known as Daredevil. And today we're going to kind of give a brief summary about what Season 1 is about, as well as my review for Season 1. There are 3 seasons in total on Netflix that were made by Netflix. They're now on Disney+. And we're going to get Daredevil Born Again in early 2020, sometime in 2024, with the writer's strike going on right now. That may affect the release date, but as of this video time that this video is coming out, it is still going to be released in 2024. Now, without further ado, we are going to continue into my review. If you like a written version of this review, I have it over on Medium. I have a link on my channel. You can go up and you can read some of the basically the scripts that I'm reading from here. You can read my reviews if you would prefer to do that. If you're more of a reader than you are a watcher, you're welcome to do that. I'll leave a link in my description for this review. But basically, my summary states that Matthew Murdock is a blind lawyer who wants to help the people of Hell's Kitchen. His partner, Foggy Nelson, played by Eldon Henson, and Matt open up their own law firm to help clients that have legal troubles. However, Matt has a secret about his blindness, and it kind of leads into how did he go blind in the first place. He was not born blind. In fact, he got involved in an accident where toxic liquid got in his eyes, which made him blind. But a side effect of that blindness was that all the rest of his senses they became more enhanced, so he can hear, smell, and taste, etc. More vividly than the normal human can. And he uses these skills of enhanced senses to become like this vigilante so that he can protect the people of his city, and he picks up the name Daredevil. Now, of course, we don't see him in his Daredevil suit, the red suit at the beginning. For a majority of Season 1, you see him wearing kind of like a black suit with pretty much, I don't know what you call it, a sock? It looks like a sock over his head. Nevertheless, that is Daredevil's original first suit. Nobody starts off with their best suit. They just work their way up. So as Daredevil, Matt brings criminals to justice he doesn't go and do what Batman would do and beat them to a pulp or whatever until they stop. Daredevil is one of those people that he'll beat the villains up, yes, but then he brings them to the government, brings them to the cops so that they can get a fair trial before a judge, because he doesn't believe in killing anybody. So, however, in this season, we see Wilson Fisk. Now, Wilson Fisk is a guy in the shadows for the beginning of season. We don't know much about him. He's a very mysterious person, and he always seems to be a couple steps ahead of Matthew Murdock. So it's up to Matthew Murdock to figure out what Wilson Fisk is actually planning and stop him before something happens to Hell's Kitchen. So that's basically the summary of what I have for this season. I'm not going to go into too much more depth just so that I don't spoil it for you, but I will say that this season is a great setup for an origin story for Matthew Murdock, and it really sets up the next 2 seasons very well. It is probably it's probably the best. I'd say the best in Season 1, the second will be Season 3, and then Season 2, in my opinion. We're going to go into my review a little bit about this movie, now, the series. Now, it is going to be very broad. There is a lot to cover in each episode. We could spend enough time, video talking on each episode, but I'm going to hit like a drive-by of the top of exactly what you will find in this movie. So, as I was saying before, Daredevil's a really good guy. He wants the law to prevail. He does not want to take law into his own hands, and he doesn't want to murder anybody. He wants to be the hero and vigilante that people know him to be, and he also wants to be a good lawyer. He has a caring heart. He wants to help his clients just as Foggy does, and he doesn't want anyone to get hurt. Now, that makes him very respectable, admirable, and a great superhero. However, this series has a lot of gory and bloody scenes. Daredevil is known for going and beating people almost to death, but doesn't. So there's a lot of blood, a lot of bone breaking. Wilson Fisk is especially violent in the way he kills people. There are guns, shooting, explosions, you name it. This series has a lot of violence in it, and that is something definitely to take into consideration when you watch this series. I would recommend that you, an adult, 18 and above, watch this series. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone younger because there's a lot of violence that could disturb some viewers, especially if you get triggered by some violent content. The sexual content in this series is worth noting, but it isn't as explicit as you'd think. There are a couple of scenes that are worth skipping, and some like references that you hear. A few guys have seen shirtless, and women have show cleavage in the type of shirts they wear. But outside of that, I mean, there's not too much in it. This series' biggest problem is its violence. The language in this series is pretty intense as well. We hear from the variety of B, S, A, D words. We don't hear any F-bombs in the season, which is a good thing, but there is some H words as well. Lord's name in vain, you name it. There's at least 4 or 5, at least, curse words per episode. Probably more. I would put it about 7 or 8 for more of the more intense episodes. And we see a lot of different characters drinking alcoholic beverages. Some of them are named, some of them aren't throughout the series. And I think we see a couple people act drunk, but we don't really spend too much time on that. So in conclusion, season 1 of Daredevil, Matthew Murdock gets some great motives. He's a great superhero. He does a really great job of acting. The entire cast really does. So it's a really great series on the acting side, on the story side, on the plot side, but there is a lot of content that you do need to consider when you're watching this series, between the violence content, the sexual content, the language. There is a lot to consider, and it may be better to watch this with some kind of profanity filter or violence filter. Now, if you're going to take out the violence of this series, you're pretty much going to be skipping the entire episode at a time, because violence is like one of the main things in the series. So if you don't like violence and you're considering using a filter, I would recommend don't even bother. You're not going to get much out of the series. So just with that. But overall, it is an action-packed series that is exciting for Marvel fans and just superhero fans in general. Daredevil works on its own platform. You don't need to be this huge Marvel geek to understand it. It works on its own, which is a great thing to do with the series. So I highly recommend that if you like action-packed series, then go ahead and watch it. Otherwise, maybe there'd be another series out there. Check out some of my videos. I have other series. I don't just review action series. There's other great ones that you can watch. And leave a like and a subscribe and a comment if you would like on this channel if you enjoyed this video, if you want to see more videos like this. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
Maybe if he had an iron suit or a magic hammer.